The first time Olivia Bennett realized the black SUV had been following her, she told herself it was coincidence. The second time, she told herself Chicago was full of black SUVs. The third time, she started checking the license plate. By the seventh night, she knew the vehicle better than she knew some of her coworkers. Black, tinted windows, no visible scratches. Always parked half a block from Belladonna, the upscale restaurant where Olivia worked until closing. And every night, without exception, the SUV began moving exactly when she did. 11:40 p.m. Not 11:39, not 11:41, 11:40. For 6 weeks, it followed her home. It never came too close, never honked, never tried to force her off the road. It simply remained there, watching, waiting, following, and tonight, Olivia had finally decided she was done being afraid. Rain hammered against the sidewalks of downtown Chicago as she stepped outside Belladonna at exactly 11:40. She pulled her coat tighter around herself. Across the street, the black SUV waited beneath a street lamp. The headlights were off. Olivia stared at it. The vehicle didn't move. She started walking toward her apartment. The SUV followed. She stopped. It stopped. She walked again. It moved. Olivia's heart began pounding. She turned around. Instead of walking home, she crossed the street. The SUV remained still. She reached the passenger door. Her hand hovered over the handle. For 1 second, she wondered whether she was making the biggest mistake of her life. Then she opened it. The interior light came on, and Olivia froze. The man sitting inside was not a stranger. She knew exactly who he was. Everyone in Chicago knew. Matteo Rossi, the man whose name powerful businessmen lowered their voices to say, the man whose organization controlled half the private clubs along the river, the man rumored to have destroyed entire criminal alliances without ever raising his voice, the Mafia Boss. He looked at her, calmly, almost patiently. Olivia's wet hair clung to her face. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. Why are you following me? Matteo said nothing. She waited. Rain struck the roof of the SUV. Finally, his eyes moved over her face. Not like a man examining a stranger. Like a man making sure something precious was still alive. Olivia's voice hardened. Answer me. His jaw tightened. Then he spoke. Because your father paid me to protect you. The world seemed to stop. Olivia stared at him. My father? Yes. My father has been dead for 20 years. I know. She swallowed. Then why are you still following me? Matteo looked directly into her eyes. Because I gave him my word. 20 years earlier, Olivia had been 10 years old. Her father had been Daniel Bennett. To Olivia, he had been a quiet man who repaired old radios on weekends, cooked pancakes on Sunday mornings, and always left the porch light on when she came home late. He had never seemed dangerous, never seemed powerful, never seemed connected to the world Matteo Rossi inhabited. Daniel had been an accountant. At least, that was what Olivia had always believed. After his death, her mother had told her there had been an accident. A car accident on a wet highway outside Chicago. Daniel had died instantly. Olivia had believed it because children believed their parents. She had never questioned it. Until tonight, now Matteo Rossi was sitting in front of her, telling her that her father had paid him to protect her. Olivia stepped back from the SUV. You're lying. No. You expect me to believe my father knew you? Yes. My father would never have anything to do with someone like you. Matteo's expression remained controlled. Your father didn't become involved with people like me. He paused. We became involved with him. Olivia stared. What does that mean? It means your father saved my life. She couldn't speak. Matteo looked toward the rain. 20 years ago, I was 19. Olivia watched him carefully. I wasn't a mafia boss then. His voice was quiet. I was a frightened kid who had just watched his entire family collapse. Matteo remembered the night clearly. He had been bleeding in an abandoned warehouse near the river. He had a bullet wound in his side. His older brother was dead. His father was missing. His family's organization had been betrayed from within. Matteo had been hunted by men who wanted to finish what they had started. He had nowhere to go. Then Daniel Bennett found him. Daniel had been driving home after a late shift. He saw Matteo lying behind a stack of wooden crates. He should have kept driving. Instead, he stopped. He carried Matteo into his car. He took him home. He cleaned the wound. He fed him. He hid him. And when the men searching for Matteo came to Daniel's neighborhood, Daniel lied to their faces. For 3 days, he protected a 19-year-old stranger. On the 4th day, Matteo could walk. He wanted to leave. Daniel stopped him. "You can't go back yet. They'll find you. I know. You don't understand. I understand enough." Matteo had looked at him. "Why are you helping me?" Daniel had answered, "Because somebody should." Those words had stayed with Matteo for 20 years. Before Matteo left, Daniel made him promise something. "If they come after me, protect my daughter." Matteo had laughed bitterly. "I don't even know your daughter." "You will." "Why me?" Daniel had looked at him for a long moment. "Because I know what kind of man you are." Matteo had not understood. He understood now. Olivia looked back at him. "Why didn't you ever come to me?" "I did." She frowned. "What?" "After your father's funeral. You weren't there." "I was." Olivia shook her head. "I would have remembered you. You were 10. He looked at her. "You were standing beside your mother. You were holding a white flower." Olivia's breathing stopped. She remembered. A man had been standing near the cemetery gate. Tall, dark-haired, silent. She had thought he was one of her father's co-workers. "That was you?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Your father asked me not to." "Why?" "Because he knew the people who killed him would eventually come looking for you." Olivia stared at him. "People killed my father?" Matteo didn't answer immediately. That was answer enough. Her eyes filled with tears. "You've been lying to me. I've been protecting you. Those aren't the same thing." "No." His voice softened. "They aren't." Olivia shut the SUV door. She didn't go home. She walked. The rain soaked through her coat. Behind her, Matteo's SUV followed at a distance. But this time, Olivia wasn't frightened. She was furious. She wanted answers, and she knew exactly where to start. Her mother's house. Olivia Bennett opened the door at midnight. She saw Olivia's face. Then she saw the black SUV parked across the street. Her expression changed. "You found him." Olivia stopped. "What?" Her mother closed her eyes. For 20 years, Elena had feared this night. "Come inside." The conversation lasted until sunrise. Elena told Olivia the truth. Daniel had not been an ordinary accountant. He had worked as a financial investigator for several powerful Chicago organizations. He had discovered that several mafia families were secretly being manipulated by one person, a businessman named Adrian Vale. Vale owned legitimate companies, hotels, construction firms, shipping companies, restaurants. On paper, he was respectable. Behind the scenes, he controlled money moving between rival criminal organizations. He made fortunes by keeping powerful men at war with each other. Daniel had discovered it, and Daniel had copied the evidence. "Why didn't you tell me?" Elena looked exhausted. "Because your father made me promise." "Promise what?" "That you would grow up believing he died in an accident?" Olivia stared at her. "Why?" "Because if you knew the truth, you would start asking questions. And questions would get me killed." Elena nodded. Olivia looked toward the window. Matteo was still there. "Does he know?" "Matteo knows more than anyone." "How long has he been protecting me?" Her mother looked down. "Since the day your father died." Olivia closed her eyes. 20 years. 20 years of birthdays, graduations, first jobs, broken relationships. Every difficult night. Somewhere nearby, Matteo Rossi had been watching. Not interfering. Not approaching, just making sure she survived. The next morning, Olivia confronted him. She walked into the black SUV without being invited. Matteo looked at her. "You shouldn't be here. You've been watching me for 20 years. Yes. You know where I work. Yes. You know where I live. Yes. You know who I date." His expression tightened. "Yes. How many relationships?" He hesitated. All of them. She stared. That's disturbing. I know. How many times have you intervened? More than you know. How many? 7. Olivia blinked. 7? 7 situations where someone intended to harm you. She looked at him. Why didn't I know? Because you never needed to. She laughed bitterly. That sounds noble when you say it. I didn't say it was noble. Then what was it? Matteo looked at her. A promise. She studied his face. Do you ever sleep? Sometimes. Do you ever leave Chicago? Rarely. Do you ever have a normal life? No. Because of my father? He looked away. Partly. Olivia waited. And because of me? Silence. Matteo finally looked at her. That's becoming the problem. Her heart skipped. What does that mean? It means I was supposed to protect Daniel Bennett's daughter. His eyes remained on hers. I wasn't supposed to care what happened to her. That should have frightened her. Instead, it made her curious. Matteo was not what she expected. He was dangerous. That part was obvious. People moved when he entered a room. Men twice his size lowered their eyes around him. But with Olivia, he was different. He didn't touch her, didn't command her, didn't force her into the SUV. He simply watched. And somehow, the restraint made him more intimidating. One evening, Olivia stayed late at Belladonna. When she stepped outside, Matteo was there. She crossed her arms. You're becoming predictable. I've always been predictable. Every night at 11:40. Your shift ends at 11:40. You memorized my schedule. I memorized everything. Everything? Your favorite coffee. She raised an eyebrow. Black coffee. 2 sugars. She stared. That's creepy. Probably. She smiled despite herself. You know what? What? I've spent 20 years believing nobody was watching over me. I was. Why does that make me sad? Matteo's expression softened. Because you should have had someone beside you. She looked at him. And you weren't. I couldn't be. Why? Because your father asked me to protect your life, not become part of it. She stepped closer. Maybe he was wrong. Matteo's eyes darkened. Don't say things like that. Why? Because I have spent 20 years learning how to stay away from you. She stopped. He looked away. And I'm beginning to forget why. Their relationship changed after that. Slowly. Dangerously. Olivia began riding in his SUV. Not every night. Only when the rain was too heavy. They talked. About Chicago. About her restaurant. About her father. About Matteo's mother. She learned that Matteo had lost his mother when he was young. That he had spent most of his life believing attachment was a weakness. That he trusted almost no one. She also discovered something nobody else seemed to know. He loved classical music. He read old history books. He hated champagne. He couldn't sleep during thunderstorms. The feared Mafia Boss had vulnerabilities. He simply kept them hidden. One night, Olivia fell asleep in the back seat. Matteo sat beside her. The driver glanced into the mirror. Should I wake her? Matteo shook his head. No, she'll be late. Let her sleep. The driver smiled. Matteo noticed. What? Nothing. Say it. You look different. Matteo's eyes narrowed. Drive. The first assassination attempt came 2 weeks later. Olivia was leaving Belladonna when a motorcycle sped past. A gunshot cracked through the street. Matteo was already moving. He grabbed Olivia and pulled her behind the SUV. His body covered hers. Another shot struck the vehicle. Olivia trembled. Matteo held her tightly. Don't move. His voice was calm. Too calm. She could feel his heartbeat against her. Matteo, stay with me. Are you hurt? No. You sure? Yes. He lifted his head. His eyes had changed. The cold Mafia Boss was gone. There was only fear. Fear for her. Olivia. She looked at him. Yes? If I tell you to run, you run. Okay. If I tell you to hide, you hide. Okay. And if I tell you to stay close to me? She swallowed. What then? His eyes dropped briefly to her lips. Then don't let go. The shooter escaped. But the attack changed everything. Matteo moved Olivia to a secure penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan. She resisted. I have a job. You'll work remotely. I have a life. You'll keep living it. I can't stay here. You can. She stared at him. You really are impossible. Yes. You don't get to make decisions for me. I know. Then why am I here? Because the person who shot at you knew your schedule. Her anger faded. Someone inside my life? Maybe. Someone close to me? Maybe. Who? I don't know. She looked at him. Then find out. He nodded. I will. Forced proximity changed them. Olivia began seeing Matteo without the armor. He cooked once. It was terrible. She laughed so hard, she cried. He stared at her. What? You burned pasta. I was distracted. By what? You? She stopped laughing. He looked down. I shouldn't have said that. She smiled. No. She stepped closer. I think you should say things like that more often. His eyes lifted. For several seconds, they simply looked at each other. He raised his hand. His fingers almost touched her cheek. Then he stopped. Why did you stop? Because once I touch you, I don't know if I'll know how to stop. Her breath caught. Maybe I don't want you to. He closed his eyes, then stepped away. You're still Daniel's daughter, and you're still Matteo. Exactly. She frowned. What does that mean? It means you deserve a man who can love you without wondering whether every person around you is a target. Maybe I deserve to choose for myself. He looked at her. Maybe. Then Olivia found the photographs. Hundreds of them. She discovered them in a locked room inside the penthouse. Photographs from school, college, her first job, her mother's birthday, her graduation, her father's funeral. There were photographs of Olivia at 20, 22, 25, 28, 30. She stood frozen. Matteo appeared behind her. He stopped. She turned. You lied. He didn't deny it. How long? 20 years. Why? Your father asked me to. You photographed me? No. Then who? My people. She stared at the wall. This is insane. I know. Do you understand how frightening this is? Yes. Then why? Matteo looked at the photographs. Because every time I thought the danger was gone, something reminded me it wasn't. Olivia's voice cracked. You should have told me. You're right. Do you love me? Silence. Matteo looked at her. Yes. She closed her eyes. Since when? I don't know. Tre. He stepped closer. Maybe the first time you laughed at me for burning pasta. She smiled through tears. That's ridiculous. Maybe. He stopped inches away. Or maybe 20 years ago. Her eyes widened. Matteo. I don't know how to explain it. He looked almost vulnerable. I saw you when you were 10. You were holding a white flower. You were crying because everyone around you was crying. He swallowed. And I remember thinking that one day you would grow up, and I hoped you would never have to know what men like me had done to the world. Olivia touched his hand. You've spent 20 years protecting me. Yes. Who protected you? He looked at her. No one. She stepped closer. I can. He shook his head. You don't know what you're offering. Neither do you. She kissed him. For the first time in 20 years, Matteo Rossi forgot to be afraid. Their happiness lasted 6 days. Then, Adrian Vale returned. He appeared at a charity Gala Belladonna was hosting. Olivia knew him as a wealthy businessman. Matteo knew him as a murderer. When Matteo saw him, his expression changed. Olivia noticed. Who is that? Someone you should never speak to. Why? Because your father knew him. Her stomach dropped. Vale approached them. He smiled politely. Mr. Rossi. Mr. Vale. His eyes moved to Olivia. So this is Daniel Bennett's daughter. Matteo stepped between them. Vale smiled. I've heard so much. Olivia frowned. Have we met? Not personally. He turned to Matteo. Yet. That night, Olivia discovered a letter hidden in her father's old belongings. It contained one sentence. If Adrian Vale ever finds Olivia, tell Matteo the key is still with her. Olivia stared at it. What key? She searched her father's possessions. Nothing. Then she remembered an old pendant her father had given her when she was 10. She had worn it for years. It was still in her jewelry box. Matteo examined it. His expression changed. Open it. How? He found a tiny seam. Inside was a micro SD card. Olivia's hands trembled. What is this? The evidence. Evidence of what? Everything. The card contained financial records, bank transfers, names, photographs, audio files. Adrian Vale had spent 20 years manipulating rival mafia families. He had arranged Daniel's death. He had ordered attacks designed to look like gang warfare. He had stolen millions. And the final file contained Daniel's voice. Olivia listened. Her father's voice filled the room. If you're hearing this, then I'm gone. Olivia covered her mouth. I knew Matteo would protect you. Pause. I also knew you would eventually need to know the truth. Daniel explained that Adrian believed the evidence had been destroyed. It had not. He had hidden it inside Olivia's pendant because nobody would search a child's jewelry. Then came the final sentence. Matteo, if you're listening, I need you to understand something. Matteo stared at the screen. You owe me nothing. His eyes tightened. I helped you because you were a boy who needed help. Pause. Don't spend your life paying me back. Olivia looked at Matteo. Daniel's voice continued. Protect my daughter because you love her, not because you owe me. Silence. Matteo closed his eyes. For 20 years he had believed his promise was a debt. Daniel had known better. Adrian attacked 2 nights later. The safe house was surrounded. Lights went out. Glass shattered. Olivia grabbed the evidence. Matteo pulled his weapon. Stay behind me. She shook her head. No. Olivia, I'm not hiding anymore. He looked at her, then nodded. Stay beside me. They moved through the corridor. Gunfire erupted. Matteo shielded her as they crossed the room. One of his men fell. Another pulled Olivia toward safety. Then Matteo disappeared behind a wall. Matteo. No answer. She ran toward him. He was on the floor. Blood spread across his shirt. Olivia dropped beside him. No. He looked up. I'm fine. You're bleeding. I've been shot before. Not like this. His hand found hers. Take the evidence. I'm not leaving you. Olivia. No. Her voice broke. You spent 20 years protecting me. She squeezed his hand. Tonight I'm protecting you. He stared at her. Something changed in his eyes. Then he smiled faintly. Your father would be proud. The final confrontation happened at the abandoned church, where Daniel had once hidden Matteo 20 years earlier. Adrian brought his men there because he wanted the evidence. He wanted Olivia, and he wanted Matteo dead. The church was dark. Rain hammered the stained glass windows. Adrian stood beneath the altar. You should have stayed out of this, Matteo. Matteo walked forward. You killed Daniel. Adrian smiled. He was weak. Olivia stepped beside Matteo. My father was stronger than you. Adrian looked at her. You're exactly like him. Good. Adrian raised his weapon. Matteo moved. A shot echoed. The fight exploded through the church. Men scattered. Glass shattered. Rain blew through broken windows. Matteo fought his way toward Adrian, but Adrian grabbed Olivia. He held the gun against her. Drop it. Matteo stopped. Olivia looked at him. Don't. Adrian smiled. See, she still trusts you. Matteo's voice was cold. Let her go. Why? Because this is between you and me. Adrian laughed. No. He looked at Olivia. This is about your father. Olivia stared at him. You killed him. Yes. Why? Because he thought he could expose me. You destroyed families. I built an empire. You destroyed my life. Adrian shrugged. Your father chose his side. Olivia's voice became steady. And you chose mine. Adrian frowned. She had been recording him. The evidence was already transmitting. Federal investigators were listening. Adrian realized too late. Matteo moved. His men disarmed Adrian. The war ended that night, not because Matteo killed his enemy, because Olivia finally brought her father's truth into the light. Months later, Matteo changed. Not completely. He was still feared, still powerful, still capable of making enemies disappear from his world. But he stopped living like every person he loved was a debt. He dismantled parts of his organization, turned legitimate businesses over to trusted managers, walked away from operations connected to violence. And for the first time, he allowed himself a life outside the empire. Olivia remained at Belladonna. She became a partner in the restaurant. Sometimes Matteo waited outside at 11:40. But now she knew why. One night, she walked out. The black SUV was waiting. She smiled. She opened the door. Matteo looked at her. "You're late. It's 11:00. 42. I noticed. She climbed inside. Still following me? No. Then why are you here? He looked at her. Waiting. For what? For you. She smiled. That's different. Very. He reached for her hand. She gave it to him. 1 year after the night she opened the SUV door, Olivia returned to the same street. It was raining again. 11. 40 p.m. But this time, she wasn't leaving work alone. The black SUV waited at the curb. Matteo stood outside it. No bodyguards. No umbrella. Just him. Olivia walked toward him. You know, people are going to start thinking you're romantic. He smiled. That's dangerous. Very. He reached into his coat. Her heart skipped. He pulled out a small velvet box. Olivia's de Red. Matteo, I spent 20 years protecting you because your father asked me to. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Then I spent a year trying to understand the difference between protecting someone and loving them. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. And? He took her hand. And I finally understand. He lowered himself to one knee. Rain fell around them. The city blurred behind him. I don't want to follow you anymore. She laughed softly through her tears. Good. I don't want to watch you from a distance. Good. I don't want to make decisions for you. Very good. I want to stand beside you. Olivia looked at him. And I want you to choose me. She swallowed. You know I've already chosen you. Matteo smiled. I needed to hear it. She pulled him to his feet, then kissed him in the rain. For once, the Mafia Boss didn't care who was watching. Years later, Olivia would still remember the exact time everything changed. 11:40 p.m. The black SUV. The rain. The open door. The man inside who had spent 20 years keeping his distance. She had once believed the SUV represented danger. Now she understood what it had represented. A promise. A promise made by a frightened 19-year-old boy to a dying father. A promise that had survived 2 decades. A promise that had slowly transformed into something neither man could have predicted. Love. Not the kind that demanded obedience. Not the kind that confused possession with protection. Not the kind that asked a woman to become smaller so a powerful man could feel bigger. A different kind. A love that waited. A love that watched from a distance when distance was necessary. A love that stepped forward when danger came. A love that eventually learned to let go. Olivia had spent 20 years believing her father died in an accident. She had spent 6 weeks believing a black SUV was stalking her. She had spent months believing Matteo Rossi was simply fulfilling an old promise. But the truth was more complicated. Her father had saved a young man. That young man had become a mafia boss. And that mafia boss had spent 20 years protecting the little girl his rescuer had asked him never to forget. Matteo had believed he was paying a debt. Daniel had known better. He knew that someday Matteo would have to understand that protecting Olivia wasn't about repaying a dead man's kindness. It was about giving her the freedom to live. And when Matteo finally understood that, he stopped following her. He stopped watching from the shadows. He stopped standing across the street. He stopped hiding behind tinted windows. He came to her openly. And Olivia chose to walk toward him. Because the most powerful thing Matteo Rossi ever did wasn't building an empire. It wasn't defeating his enemies. It wasn't becoming the man Chicago feared. It was allowing the woman he loved to choose him without fear. And the woman he had followed every night at 11:40 p.m. finally became the woman who reached for his hand at 11:40 p.m. and never let go.